Welcome, beautiful buddies and gentlemen family. In today's video, we'll be discussing what's going on at FC Barcelona. I have watched all of FC Barcelona's games, and I've had a lot of question marks about Barca. I had question marks about how they went out versus Inter Milan last season. I've had question marks about FC Barcelona so far this season. And it's not just the football tactically, it's also drama at the club at FC Barcelona. And we'll be going through everything in this video. First of all, where to start is this. Hansi Flick warning to Barcelona stars after the 1-1 draw versus Rayo Vallecano. On Sunday night, FC Barcelona were held to a draw. Hansi Flick's warning. Now, Kidejige come forward with more details about the meeting that took place between Flick and the Barcelona players. So they had a meeting after the draw against Rayo Vallecano after three basically unimpressive performances. As per the report, German tactician is worried about the team's attitude. As such, he spent more time that looked in the dressing room after the match, speaking with his players for 25 minutes. The talk was not tense, but rather quiet and calm, yet the fact remains that he believes his team is not as committed as last season. Furthermore, Flick warned the team that if they do not play 100%, titles will not be won. The Barca head coach is concerned about his start of the season and believes the Fermin Lopez situation has distracted both the midfielder and the entire dressing room. There were already some concerns after the disappointing second half showing against Mallorca and the slow start versus Levante. Now the performance versus Rayo Vallecano has further worried the manager, who was clear that his players might get their act together after the international break or run the risk of not winning any trophies. And who is this aimed towards? There are some candidates this could potentially be aimed towards. It could potentially be Jules Koundé. Jules Koundé obviously wasn't used as a starter in the first two games, started the third game, but potentially that's the reason he was not playing. It could have been fitness, or he played a lot of games last season, but it could also be he's not showing 100% intensity in the training sessions and so on. It could also be for the midfield, Fermin Lopez, obviously, that's quite clear with the potential Chelsea move and everything. And there maybe even more up in the attack. Maybe Marcus Rashford is not showing the intensity Flick is hoping for. But Flick is quite clear that he does not like the attitude of some players in the Barca dressing room so far at the moment. And we can pick both sides. We can pick both sides. We can say that Flick, maybe his tactics, maybe his football is not working, and instead of taking accountability, he's blaming it on the players. But it could also be that Flick is right, and the players are just showing bad attitude. I think it's a mixture of both. I think Flick is trying to distance himself from valid criticism, but he also is putting valid criticism on the players. But there's more to look into, because Flick had this to say straight after the game. Egos kill any success. Last year we played as a team. I don't care about this right here about egos kill any success. Last year we played as a team. Who is he talking about? Who are these supposed egos in the locker room that are affecting the squad? Is it a player like Pedri? I don't believe so. I think Pedri has been Barca's best player so far these three games. He has performed well. He has run. He has showed intensity. So I don't think it's Pedri. And he's not someone you look for an ego. Is he one of the wingers? Lamine Yamal. We obviously know about his huge ego. Could it be Rafinha? Could it be Koundé? Could it be Robert Lewandowski? Who is he talking about here? Because I don't think every Barca player has an ego. It's some Barca players Flick is pointing fingers at. We have even more. Flick's words cut deep because they are true. Barca's system demands ego-free intensity and teamwork. If players slow down or think they're bigger than the collective, the structure collapses. Ego is the enemy of Flick's football, and the intensity is the only way it works. And that is 100%. When it comes to how FC Barcelona play, it's a unit. It's a unit. The high press, the offside trap, all of that. It's one single unit working together to get the absolute best out of the team. But Flick seems there are players that are not going with it. There are also more stuff. Pedri responded. Last year, we all ran for each other, not for the personal glory. That's how team ties belong, by leaving egos aside. So Pedri agreeing with Flick that you can't win if you have too big of an ego. But is Pedri agreeing? I think so. I think Pedri is agreeing with Flick, which potentially takes Pedri out of the equation that it couldn't be him. So even potentially Pedri here is pointing fingers at his Barca teammates not doing well enough. And when it comes to the ego, we have even more. Fermin Lopez has decided to stay at FC Barcelona, but you can see the Chelsea's offer because there's some things in the dressing room they did not like. So even here, more stuff pointing towards there could be some potential drama in the Barca dressing room. Fermin Lopez, it could potentially only be between him and Gavi. We know there was a dispute between Fermin Lopez and Gavi's girlfriends that eventually led to Fermin Lopez and Gavi having a dispute as well. So it could potentially be only that, but maybe some even bigger problems at FC Barcelona. And when it comes to the ego, I think it's quite clear who Flick potentially is talking about. Even though Lamine Yamal has registered 4 GA so far this season in La Liga. I mean, come on, man. We've talked about this enough. They crowned this, they crowned this. I think this is the ego Flick is pointing to. It definitely is more. I think Rafinha, who performed extremely terribly versus Rayo Vallecano, is also pointing at, is someone also Flick is pointing at. It's Rafinha, it's Lamine Yamal, it could potentially be Rashford, Robert Lewandowski, majority of the attacking players. It could be Jules Koundé, depending on how you see Flick has been using him so far this season. It could be maybe Casado, who's mad, he's not starting games. There's some problems at FC Barcelona that have to be solved immediately if they want to be successful so far this season. The departure of Inigo Martinez, the drama, as we read about the Ferri Lopez situation, has not helped out the FC Barcelona at the moment so far. But as I said in the beginning of the video, it's not just drama at FC Barcelona, it's also the tactical football. I'm someone that has been a staunch critique of Hansi Flick's high line, including with the offside trap. Even if you look at Hansi Flick's Bayern München side back in 2020 that won the treble, they played a very high line, but they did not play that offside trap because that offside trap, I mean, is basically suicidal. And I said the main reason Barca lost out to Inter Milan was not a supposed tackle from Dumfries on Gerard Martin. It was not Eric Garcia not scoring that chance. It was the high line. It was the high line, and it was the offside trap. That's how easily Inter Milan could score chances versus FC Barcelona in the game. And obviously, when you look at the last goal, Barcelona are pushing up. Despite them having a 3-2 lead coming from Rafinha, Barca players are still pushing up, and voila, Inter have a 3v3 in Barca's own half. That should not be happening in a big Champions League semi-final game where you've already conceded 5 goals. So I think Flick is trying to talk a lot about the egos and so on, but he needs to look at himself in his mirror. He needs to look at his tactics and understand maybe my tactics are also the problem. I'm someone well aware of these kinds of situations because we had a little bit similar in the beginning of last season. I think a mixture between the players maybe having an ego and not performing at their best, and obviously the tactics not looking that well was the main reason for Paris Saint-Germain slumping in the beginning of last season, especially in the UEFA Champions League. So FC Barcelona are looking at a similar situation. And now let's take a look at the tactics. This is the first one I saw, which is absolutely insane. Big chances conceded after 3 games in the new La Liga season. You have Madrid, Atletico Bilbao, Valencia, Villarreal, Real Sociedad, Osasuna, Atletico Madrid. Basically all the top clubs, apart from FC Barcelona, in the upper echelon, conceding between 1 to 4 big chances across 3 games, which is really good. But then you have FC Barcelona all the way down here, 12 big chances conceded so far this season. Yes, it's the start of the season. Yes, Barca haven't had their best, strongest lineup with Lewandowski and Dani Olmo just coming back from injury. Gavi just received another injury. Flick still having question marks about the backline with Inigo Martinez departure, but no replacements came in. So there are so many problems at FC Barcelona, and I want to look at this video right here. I watched the Rayo Vallecano game. And one thing I've noticed from these first 3 La Liga games, the Mallorca game, the Levante game, and the Rayo Vallecano game, is that La Liga teams have found out FC Barcelona. They found out the weaknesses in FC Barcelona, and especially their offside trap and their high line. For example here, Easy. What is he doing? He's waiting offside, a bit similar to Ousmane Dembélé at Paris Saint-Germain sometimes. And then comes the run, as you can see from the winger here on the right side. The long ball comes, he makes the run, and then Easy is waiting here for an easy tap-in. Obviously, Juan Garcia with a great save there. This could have potentially also been offside, but this is a tactic that Rayo Vallecano used that a lot of other La Liga teams will be using, which is a huge Achilles heel in Flick's tactics. As you can see, they're constantly just doing the same. Here, for example, the ball is moved around. This player right here knows he has to make the run. He starts his run, and Easy is right there waiting for the easy tap-in. What happened here? Yeah, good clearance there from Christensen. But what we're seeing from the first start of the season, it's only 3 games, you shouldn't take too much, but you definitely should take into account. Flick is blaming the players and attitude of the players and calling egos and Lamine Yamal, Rafinha. These players should be performing better. They should play with better intensity. He doesn't like the attitude problems. But they're also worrying stuff with his tactics. Conceding 12 big chances in only 3 games is absolutely diabolical. And yes, you lost Inigo Martinez, but it's your fault for not replacing him. I think FC Barcelona should have pushed Fermi Lopez out if the money was the problem that they needed to replace him with an actual centre-back. And there are more question marks heading into the season after the international break than there are solutions for FC Barcelona. For me, in my opinion, if FC Barcelona want to improve, the players have to get behind Flick. The players cannot show attitude problems. The players cannot crown themselves against Vallecano, man. What is this? Be serious. Be serious. And this is the main difference between Flick's Barca and Flick's Bayern. Flick's Bayern was filled with men, veterans, Thomas Müller, Robert Lewandowski, Goretzka, Kimmich, Boateng, Manuel Neuer, experienced veterans that didn't show attitude problems, that listened to Flick. But now he has this young, vibrant Barca team, and they think they're the best in the world just because they had such a great season last season. No, it's about this season. I even remember Luis Enrique saying, as soon as the season ended, he said, well, the season ended, great, we had a great season, now let's move on to the next season. Because continuity, longevity, consistency is what makes the top. What makes Messi and Ronaldo so good? Not because of their peak, but because of their peak longevity, consistency. That's what some of these Barca players have to understand. It's not about performing in one season. It's about performing in multiple seasons. But then we come to Hansi Flick's tactics. These tactics have been a huge question mark for me this entire season. In every single reaction I've had of a Barca game, I've said, will Barca be able to win the Champions League playing this way? When the main reason they got knocked out last season was because of this. And yes, it wasn't just Inter. Before that, they only played Benfica and Dortmund. Those are teams that are not going to knock out Barca. You can also say they had a little bit of an easy run going into that semi-final. So I think FC Barcelona is the second most talented team in the world. Plays probably the second best football in the world. But because of his Achilles problem and the attitude problems that Flick is pointing out, and even Pedri, one of the most vocal players in the Barca team, there are huge question marks that have to be solved at FC Barcelona. And, even me as a neutral, when I was watching that Vallecano game, and when I was watching the marking on that corner, absolutely dreadful. Who should we blame on? Who should we blame it on? Is it Lamine Yamal who's standing outside of the box? Is it Jules Koundé? Maybe that was one of the things Hansi Flick was pointing out to. The attitude problems to not mark the player at the back post. But all of this could be potentially solvable. There is an international break which would give Hansi Flick a lot of time if he actually wants to adapt his tactics. Because as I've said, you cannot be playing these tactics, especially now that they've been found out by La Liga teams. These La Liga teams would just be doing the same. They would just pass between the two players, play a long ball, bomb, and they have so many big chances. It was the same thing against Inter Milan. The issue for me against Inter Milan, it was very hard for Barca to score. For Barca to score, Yamal had to do 10 dribbles, Rafinha, 10 long shots, bomb, you got the goal. But for Inter Milan, it was one through ball and bomb, easy goal. You cannot win a Champions League that way. Defensive solidity is extremely important. That's something I understood last season as a Champions League supporter, Paris Saint-Germain supporter. When we beat Arsenal and Liverpool away 1-0. It was about the defensive solidity. Yes, Dembouz scored 2 goals, 2 great goals. But it was about the defensive solidity. That's what took us to the next stage. Even Real Madrid, when they won a bunch of UCLs, there were so many periods in games where they just defended and didn't let the opponent score. When they went to City away and parked the bus and so on. Flick has to understand. He has to adapt. This football cannot work. It was clear last season, and it's even more clear this season now that more teams know about the weaknesses of this team. One thing when it comes to the offside trap and highline, which is extremely crucial, is the pressing. Because when those players are pressed, for example, if we look at this fridges right here, if we look at this third bar right here, look at these two Vallecano players. Look at Yamal, look at Ferran Torres. Pedri, yeah, he could maybe press a little bit better, but he has 2 players on him. These players need to be pressed because when they're not pressed, they have all the time in the world to put this long ball, and that goes for every single opportunity. Once again, right here, the player that's going to put the long ball, he passes it to him. The press here from Pedri is not good enough. And what is Rafinha doing there on the left side? Not going down and pressing. The pressing needs to be helped and needs to be done better. Here, the long ball is being played. The player gets the ball, and it's the same thing right here. Ball down the left side. And look at the offside trap. This is genuinely disgusting. This is something I saw multiple times during the game. The offside line is not straight. It's leaning because not everyone is following it. And that's another huge thing with Inigo Martinez. He was the captain. He was Mr. Offside Trap because he was so good at it. But look at this. You see? It's not a straight line. With Koundé following him, opens up all the weights. Easy waiting right here. So this could potentially also be the attitude problem that Flick is not is talking about. It's Rafinha, Yamal not pressing, Ferran Torres as well not pressing. Even Pedri could be pressing better. So the pressing has not been good. That is the major concern when it comes to the attitude in my problem. But as I said, during this international break, the players will get a break from FC Barcelona, come back with more hunger and motivation to prove themselves, especially with the big games coming up in the UEFA Champions League. And we're only a couple of weeks away from the mouth-watering Paris Saint-Germain FC Barcelona tie. And I even tweeted after the Rayo Vallecano game, if Barcelona play this kind of football against us, you're going to concede 5. That does not come from an arrogant standpoint. That comes from a logical standpoint. With the running power of Achraf Hakimi, with Ousmane Dembele, with Nuno Mendes, this football cannot be played. Hansi Flick has to look at himself in the mirror and adapt his tactics. And the FC Barcelona players have to look at themselves in the mirror. I'm looking at you, Lamine Yamal, mostly. You have to look at yourselves in the mirror and say, can I do better? I should be doing better. That's been it from your boy PSG. Let me know in the comments down below. What's your thoughts on this situation at FC Barcelona? And is it solvable? And how long will it take? And should Flick adapt his tactics, or the players the problems? Yeah, let me know that. Is the players attitude the problem, or is it Flick tactics, or is it a mixture of both? That's been it from boy PSG. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. And as usual, allez Paris.